In our pilot episode, we thought you need to get to know us a little bit. So we are mixed and confused. We're not always confused, but we're both mixed. First of all, we are super excited. We are in Wales and
Edinburgh, Scotland.
yes, so Scotland, Wales, Edinburgh, Cardiff. We had some help setting up for this one, but from now on, it's going to be really homemade. And we like this was very homemade. So we are mixed and confused. This is what our show is called. We're not always confused, but we're both mixed. Audrey actually call yourself a third generation kid.
A third culture kid.
Third culture kid. My English. I used to call myself mixed race, and now I just call myself mixed because of all the conversations around race. And that is exactly why we are here to talk about these stories in a different way. We are very inspired by people like us, and we think that their stories need to be heard, because when we told each other our stories, we realized how incredible it is. We didn't realize that for ourselves, how incredible our own stories, but hearing a similar story and making that connection got us excited. And since we met actually with Audrey, we have been talking about doing something about coming from mixed backgrounds and mixed cultures. We met through Creative Mornings, which we are both really passionate about, and now we're both out of it, but our friendships within Creative Mornings, and most importantly our friendship, is still continuing. That's the best gift that Creative Mornings has given us. And this is a bit of a tribute, my mug. In our pilot episode, we thought you need to get to know us a little bit, because the main objective of this show is going to be giving other people a platform, telling their stories and talking about issues and over themes throughout other people's stories, other mixed people's stories. First, I'm going to interview Audrey, my beautiful partner. I have learned a lot from you. So this will be an episode probably that's going to bring out other episode ideas, because we just have so much to talk about and learn from you. I want to talk a little bit about what Audrey does. She's currently a Digital Boost program coordinator, has a lot of experience in communication management and digital marketing. Because there's so much that I'm seeing and that I know about your professional life, can you explain that a little bit more for us?
What I am, what I get good feedback on, and what I'm good at is organization and culture with great skills in technology, people, governance. And over the last few years, that's had me in quite a few leadership roles. So designing, delivering different programs, supporting organizations with their culture, particularly when they're going through digital transformation, but wanting to look after people in the process. Current role, I'm the Digital Boost Program Coordinator, which is a Scottish Government funded program that supports micro businesses and SMEs, and to in general support communities through this digital revolution. And in my next role, I'm going to be the head of site for one of the UK's biggest tech incubators.
You bring so much of your skills and experience together in everything that you do, and you kind of end up doing way more than a role. That's like a theme of your life. It's always exciting to watch you grow and help people grow in your roles. So I'm going to start my question. How would you describe yourself, and what do you want to quickly say about Mixed and Confused?
We met each other, and I was speaking to Melin about culture and interviewing her for academic research. And what came out in that conversation was we're both from mixed race, mixed culture, language backgrounds. It shapes so much of your experience when you have that kind of multiplicity and complexity in your life. To find someone else who understands navigating that journey was transformative. So we wanted to make sure we could bring that experience to other mixed folks. So first, amplifying the voices of other mixed people who've accomplished, who are brave, who are bold, who can inspire other mixed folks who might potentially be feeling isolated, like their experience is so unique, they have no people who they could fully relate to. They have to explain themselves a bit too much. Here they can find out they're not alone, and ultimately find ways to connect. Find ways to make sure that those who view this and are inspired can connect with speakers, connect with fellow audience members. We'll see what more comes from that. It's evolving and we're running with it. I was born in the States to a mixed father, a lovely, long, blonde-haired California gal mom, but moved to Scotland when I was 4.5 years old, during a time when Scotland was very old school, traditional whites had to navigate that context, through formative years, which was tricky and strange. And I'm just really grateful that now, later in life, I have the means to connect with people like Melin, other mixed folks, to really shape my personal view of myself and hopefully be a role model to other mixed folks, especially the young ones.
The reason we really care about that is because we grew up with no role models, and we grew up with such a lack of conversations around being mixed, conversations with our own families, which is why this is crucial, for young people to see us and like actually start feeling good about themselves. The main question that everybody asked you throughout your life, everyone who met you, I would love to know your heritage.
Thank you. That's a lovely rephrasing of what other people would say, which is, what are you?
No, but where are you from?
Where? Where? My father's family are from Florida, and they are Black, Seminole, Choctaw, Irish, fighting Irish. My mom's side are Dutch, Irish, Scottish, Iberian. We recently found out Gujarati, going back generations, but both sides lived in the United States for a very, very long time. And my parents met at college in Dallas, Texas, and had this guy.
That was one thing that really put everything about you together for me, which is so interesting because you are a mix of so many, but everyone can tell you don't look white. You might be called white person in some context, especially if you have your hair down and stuff. You look confusing to people, right? I can't offend you. So I know I'm trying to be really careful with my wording, but at the end of the day, I don't know how I can.
Because I am such an ambiguous person, I've come to realize that even for other mixed folks, it's different. I'm not going to put this on other people, but for me personally, I've learned that the best way to approach it is to be very understanding and make it so that when someone makes a mistake or says something that could be offensive, I'll gauge the water and be like, is this a learning experience? I'll figure out if that person's a bigot. If they're a bigot, I'll just be like, you're an arsehole, sorry, and go away. If they're making a mistake, tone of it's different, I say, that's not quite right. So we're going to go through a conversation of learning here. And you've always been very open to that. And that's part of what made it so comfortable, is you could just get straight up ask me those questions so that you could figure it out. The way that you approached it in wanting to learn helped me figure out how to talk about myself. So I don't take offense at when someone's genuinely just trying to learn.
See, this is one of our pains of being mixed, isn't it? Because people can't figure you out. Everyone wants to know what it is you have. For some reason, it's just such a thing, like people has to find out. It's this mystery that people feel like they have to figure out. In a way, I'm sad to say that rub on me, because that's how I've been treated all my life. Now, when I see mixed people, I label them in my head like, oh, she's white and black, or Chinese and black, or, I will do those things as well. So I knew you had Native American, but like you said, there's so many tribes that people don't actually talk about. And when I saw Seminole, Choctaw, and then I researched and I saw a woman that actually looks like you. For me, it was like, wow, generations and generations and that much mixing up, you still look like a Choctaw woman. How do you feel with having so many crazy mixes, like Native American and black in its own? It's something to sort of really dig into, and you have all the other mixes that come into it. How did that make you feel growing up? What was the main theme for you?
I think a lot of people who are either mixed or people of color have this similar feeling, like there's a point in life where you all of a sudden realize you're different. So the first years I was Audrey. I was little Audrey. I was okay with that. And my mom loved me. That's what I knew. But I think it was my family's reaction. They didn't know my dad. That created a kind of otherization of me from the family. They knew he wasn't white, but neither is my mom's family. We're a mix as well. When I went into school and then high school, and in school it was like, you're weird, blah, 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 but the conversations of race didn't come in. But in high school, I think there was an intelligence. My hair was an issue in primary school, and it was just nitpicking about little aspects of who I was and trying to control it. But then in high school, the race conversation came in. I was told by a teacher, don't talk about the fact that you're mixed. I was taken aside by a teacher and told, don't talk about that. You want this to be easy. You're going to make things difficult for us here. Only one other mixed person in the school. When I turned around and I just, didn't acknowledge the fact that I was mixed. And it was just going with the white passing thing and just going, I'm white. People, but you're not. What are you? It was, you're not white. what are you? So I couldn't fit in. I couldn't be any one thing in particular. I'm not white.
Audrey, did you
That was
try to look white or act white, do you think, because of all this pressure?
absolutely hair straightening, because having curly, very big curly hair growing up, I was thought it was beautiful when I was little, but then teachers in Scotland hated it. One of them put a rubber band in my hair that had to be cut out.
What do you mean they put a rubber band? Who?
My mum sent me to school with my hair, all curly. She put conditioner in it. She'd gotten it right after a lot of effort. And in the class, the teacher said it was ugly and disruptive. And she got a rubber band from her desk. She wrapped my hair in it and it had to be cut out. And so did big chunks of my hair. That was just a continuous theme. And then in high school, I think teenagers are particularly bad because it's very appearance based and, hormones are starting to go. The bullying got so far that I just started straightening my hair. I eventually did the permanent straightening, was wearing foundation to not have, I've got a varied complexion and lots of freckles. So I was trying to cover all of that up. Bleaching my hair, I was bleach blonde, ginger, all varieties. And I don't think I fully was thinking I want to look white. It was, I want to look like everyone else. But ultimately, through my 20s, I realized I was trying to conform with white people so that they wouldn't make my appearance an issue and it wouldn't be a conversation constantly. I was never explicitly trying to look white, but I was trying to not stand out amongst a crowd of white people.
Would you say the theme for you growing up was trying to fit it in or not be seen different?
I think I was always trying to find a place to and a way to belong. And looking different, sounding different seemed to always make me an outsider because we lived away from our family. All of my family, my mom and my dad's family lived in the States. It was just me and my mom here. So a lot of it was trying to find family, find community. Appearance seemed to be a big way to try and find belonging growing up. Yeah, I think kind of rotating back to the beginning of the conversation, it was finding people like yourself who had that similar experience when I went, oh, I can be me and find community. I don't need to change the way I look or sound to find community.
So you think that obviously that theme, or I'm going to call it the childhood struggle, the lack of belonging, carried into your adulthood. Would you say that that's right? Like, how do you feel that shaped your adulthood now? Like, if you think about the things that you love doing and the things that you don't enjoy or places that you want to be in, if you think about stuff like that, how do you think it impacted it?
In my early 20s, it shaped a lot of what I ended up wanting to do. So I was very good at the sciences and I ended up studying aerospace engineering. But whilst I was there, I was still trying so hard to belong. I found myself being enticed into spaces that were away from my degree. And I was hanging out with the wrong people and I was changing my appearance. I was drinking to fit in, drinking heavily. Binge culture doesn't fit me. It doesn't suit me. I was trying to be funny in making jokes that weren't me. It wasn't until I was about 25 when there was something that just snapped and said, I need to get out of this because this isn't me. I don't look in the mirror and then look at photos of parties and stuff and see me. And I started to cast it off. And it was a long process. It really was. And it was kind of painful because I had to walk away from huge groups of people that were the only ones I knew and start again. So in my late 20s and into now, I'm 32, I'm finally feeling me and going, I'm okay talking about this. And I'm going to go try out this activity because I like doing it. And I'm going to go and reach out to these people because they're talking about things that excite me. I'm going to say I belong in this space without waiting for someone to invite me in. I'm going to go try it out because it's attracting me.
That's the one. I now came to accept that I love a good community. And I know why, because I had such lack of it when I was growing up. I think now to know that I belong to something just makes me excited and like finding a common ground with people instead of seeing that as a negative thing. At once I've been taught to think. I've been through different groups of people, like you said, and on one of those, I was made to believe that my desire to belong was a wrong thing and trying to exist in different communities. But now I accepted that, I know where it comes from, and it actually makes me happy. So I use it for my own benefit. I love helping people. I love spending time with communities. And I think that makes me feel good and maybe in a way makes me feel important or loved. Now I know there's nothing wrong with that. While as before, I thought there was something, I was told there was something wrong with that. But there isn't, is there? Like that is what everybody needs something else. Some people lean on sport, some people running, some people lean on beauty, treats. I lean on community, so that's okay.
Something that's unhealthy for everyone, mixed or not, that is part of this prevailing culture right now is individualism to the extreme, where you are being told to need other people is wrong, it's weak, it's not resilient. And I feel like that's really wrong, even just part of our biology. It's very easy to turn around and say that when you are so similar and familiar with your surrounding people that even if you're pursuing that strategy, you're going to find common people. You're going to find community because you're white, just like everybody else. You're black, just like everyone else around you. Or you're so much like everyone else that even if you're being individualistic, community is going to form around you. You can find role models. It's easy. But when you're a mixed person, you've never found one or more people that are exactly like you, that you can just easily fit in. You've had to put conscious effort in to figure out what it takes to build community. What are the factors involved, the dimensions? You train yourself. And I think it almost makes us better at community building because we've had to work so hard to understand what it takes to build community cohesion that we can make it happen.
Wonderfully put. We just talked loads about like being different, standing out. Did you have a role model, maybe one time that you saw this one person or people that you were like, have you got anything like that? Any memories of that?
Rather than mixed people being icons, it was people who just embraced themselves being different. They were the total icons of me growing up. And it was mostly like gay men. Freddie Mercury, oh my God. Loved him so much. I would sing his music all the time growing up. I was like, I'm going to be like him when I grow up. I had two godfathers, John and Brian, or Yanis. Yanis Konstantin Savidas. He was a Greek New Yorker, big, like bubbly, gay, joyous. Did drag in the 80s in New York. He moved over to London when I was little. Kind of, we were able to see him a bit more, and his partner Brian. Brian's Cherokee and Portuguese. They were flamboyant, bubbly, willing to be different, gay, but also both mixed culture, mixed race. Yanni died when I was 14. Before he died, he gave me so many moments where he would literally hold my face and go, "You're beautiful, honey. You're wonderful." And he would encourage me to be creative. He would find ways to get me to be creative if I was down in the dumps. Just a fantastic role model. You know, he would always go, "F it," if someone was being judgmental. And he would go out wearing his red high top sneakers and his red leather jacket and his big sunglasses and be like, "Come on, honey, we'll be the loudest people in the street." That was what I needed as a kid. I needed someone who was willing to stand out and be different and love that about themselves. Then my stepfather, who was around from when I was like 9 till 17. So he was Italian and he had businesses in Germany and Italy. We got to go and visit those countries during my teen years, which was really helpful, really important. And he himself was mixed culture, so Pontian Greek ancestry, but his family was in Sicily, and he traveled the world for business. And he opened my eyes to how big the world was. Scotland's not the be all and end all. White people are not the be all and end all. Mixed people everywhere. There's differences between towns. There's differences between cities. There's difference between countries. Everybody's different from each other. Just be who you are. While I was still really struggling during that time that I knew both of them, they laid foundations for me to go into my later life and have points of reference to be like, you know what, if they could do it and they were such wonderful people, then I can do it too.
That's really interesting that your role models were male. I find that really interesting.
Queer men.
I'm going to ask a crucial question.
Uh-oh.
It's really difficult to be mixed and have one of your parents as a white person. We've been doing a lot of reading, you and me, by mixed writers, and that always comes up as a theme. The difficult thing is you are white, but the world doesn't see you white. So there is a whole thing about having a white parent. So I just wanted to ask you, what was it like to have a white mum?
She tried her best. She did the best she could. There's definitely still moments of naivety. She's trying, but she's just kind of fumbled. When I was younger, she worked so hard to try and find the right care for my hair. That was a big thing. She didn't really know how to handle the conversation around my race and mixed cultural background with teachers. She found it very hard standing up for me because she herself was a single mom who was being victimized by the system. She wasn't able to protect me there, and I just had to become really thick-skinned and get through it into adulthood and find ways to defend myself. But when it came to like care of my hair, she tried different hair salons. salons. She was always trying new hair treatments. She would reach out to family in the States, because I have Black family members on that side, and ask for advice. She tried so hard. I think it was just unfortunate that in Scotland there weren't a lot of Black hairdressers. Sometimes she just get really tired, and she'd take me to a white hairdresser and they'd mess everything up. And it would be like, oh God, we start again. She finds it quite uncomfortable talking about that.
Dear viewers, dear audience, whoever you are, wherever you are, we are talking about our hair, but you need to know that both of us eventually change the way our hair now grows on our head, because we did so much to it. So my hair was a lot bigger and thicker than it is now. Even though people think I have an afro, for me this is an afro, this is just curly hair. It like in my own head, because it used to be so fizzy and tiny curls, and you had maybe curlier than mine and it was like bigger. Looking at us, you may not feel like we had afros, but that's what happens to your hair. But yeah, your mom tried a lot to support you with your hair.
She tried her best to connect me with my heritage as well. Unfortunately, my father's kind of a dangerous person, so she couldn't just like put me on the phone to him. I had to find ways to connect through my aunts and uncles and through my siblings. My father has 3 siblings that he had with other women after me. She tried her best with that as well. But there are certain aspects of the conversation that she finds it quite uncomfortable. And I think it's that white fragility, but it's the truth. And I love you, Mama, but it's the truth. Where if we talk about racism, it just gets a little bit too much. If we talk about certain dynamics going on in political conversations, I'll have a very strong viewpoint and she just can't, like the conversation will be shut down and she'll be like, I can't have this conversation. So I don't get to talk to her about those things. I love her.
So let's talk about choosing a side. I did sort of ask this question, but did you ever feel like you needed to choose a side just to sort of maybe silence some voices? How did you start? And when you did, what did you start saying about yourself or what you were? What are you?
Yeah, I felt that pressure. I didn't realize it was conforming with whiteness. I was feeling the pressure to do, but it was going on through all of the hair bleaching, hair straightening, trying to change myself. It just became abundantly clear that it was not an option to choose white as a side, because I was always going to be asked, what are you? Even when my hair was bleach blonde, poker straight, and I hadn't been in the sun for months, I was still being asked, what are you? So it's not an option. When I think back to what I was trying to conform with, I don't want it to be an option. I think we're now having a conversation about whiteness. It's a homogenization of a group in and of itself. It's toxic and it's dangerous and it plays into power hierarchies that are, I mean, that's a whole conversation. I do not want to play a part in the continuation of whiteness as a thing, but also picking Native, Indigenous, Seminole, Choctaw, or picking Black wasn't an option. It's not, because I'm so clearly more than one thing, more than 2 things. I cannot pick a side. I think I'd run with the word mixed and that's it.
You started telling people that you're mixed, right? When do you feel belonging? Belonging, yeah. When do you feel you belong?
For workaholism has had me have a faux feeling sometimes that work is where I belong. But these days, it's usually amongst groups like what we've spaces we've shared when we were at Creative Mornings in New York with that huge group of people who, you know, I think a lot of them had shared experiences, and that's what attracted them to Creative Mornings. I felt like I belonged there. With my brothers, I love talking to my brothers because we're going through similar journeys and understanding each other, and there's so much that we don't have to explain. We can be just like, oh, you're going through shit right now? Yeah, me too. Cool. Let's talk about soccer. Let's talk about the Euros. Let's talk about our niece Claire and just talk about other things, and that feels like a sense of belonging. Friends like yourself, my friend Amra, who's Bosnian Scottish, Tao, who's Vietnamese Moroccan but grew up in France. Those are the spaces that come to be that I feel like I belong in.
So do you feel belonging is a place or a feeling?
I think it's a feeling.
When you were growing up, how much of your background and where you come from were you aware of? Because you didn't grow up with your full family. So how much of it did you know when you were a child?
This is where I give my mom massive kudos. So my dad was quite violent whilst my mom was pregnant and after she'd had me. So she knew she was going to have to part ways with him, and it just kind of got worse over time with him. So she put a real effort in. It was like she was planning ahead. Like she knew she was going to have to do it. She made contact with my Aunt Tammy, my dad's brother, started to learn about where he came from, which is effectively part of where I come from. He shared enough with her. She would, whenever there was a peaceful time, she would talk to him about where he came from, what his background was. And while she was pregnant, And while I was a baby, my mom put in that time. She wrote down everything, and she's kept us with some communication to my dad's family. That's where the awareness came in. Apart from that, a lot of it came from reaching out to people who've made themselves visible through media that are from those communities. A lot of it's from Indigenous activists.
But that was when you grow up, right? That's when you could do your own research. But growing up, it's basically you were aware that you had a mix of cultures and heritage, and you knew about those because your mum was there actively making sure you know.
Yeah. I don't think I really figured out that other people weren't mixed as well until it was pointed out. I thought it was normal. It was my normal. When people at primary school and early high school were going, all my family are Scottish, all my family are from Glasgow. I was like, what? That's amazing.
That is so cute. Like, you thought everyone was mixed.
Yeah, it makes sense. Everyone's different. What mix are you? You know?
Everyone is mixed to an extent.
I remember having a classmate who was Zimbabwean and Portuguese, and I was like, cool, who's next? Didn't twig to me that it was such a thing that made you so different. And then, you know, I started to find out that everyone in my class was born at the same hospital. And everybody's families knew each other and they all kind of looked alike. That was when I started to realize the big difference.
How did that make you feel?
I felt alien. That played a part in that feeling like there was something wrong with me. They all knew so much about each other's lives and growing up experience. And for me, I'd moved around so much. They don't know the hospital where I was born. Is that a problem? Do you know? Go to the same nursery school and the same church, and we couldn't all go to the same hairdresser growing up. We didn't have the same conversations growing up.
I have an idea. Should we do a little RuPaul tribute?
Yes.
This is little Audrey. What would you say to 10-year-old Audrey?
Audrey, baby girl, your mixedness is going to be the thing that makes you creative and connect with the world and find ways to help people. Run with it. Be just as different as you can be. Stop frying your hair.
Yeah, stop frying your hair.
Just stop it and stop plucking your eyebrows. I know thin eyebrows in the early thousands was a thing, but stop. They'll never come back.
So you gave advice to little Audrey, to today's mixed race kids. And I also want you to think about their parents. What would you tell the parents raising mixed kids and the kids themselves?
Do you know, I think it ties back to a question that you asked me about how did trying to fit in and conform influence my choices of what activities I participated in, what I did with my appearance, what people I tried to fit in with. Take the advice and say, you are different, you are unique, and that's wonderful. As a parent, please don't try and pressure your child to do things as activities or with their appearance or socializing with particular groups that run against who they naturally are just to try and get them to fit in. Let them do their unique path. And as the mixed kid, trust that there are so many people out there like you. And if the people in your immediate context right now aren't like you, it's okay. You'll grow up and you'll have more opportunities, but do not force yourself to be more of anything that you're not or less of anything that you are. Don't force yourself to do activities that don't bring you joy. If you don't want to watch football, but all your classmates are watching football, don't force yourself to do it. If there are people that you just don't like, but they're popular, trust me, their life is just, it's fine. You're going to be the cool kid ultimately. Don't force yourself to hang out with them if they irritate you. Just be you, accept that school days will come to an end. You will be the amazing person in your 20s and 30s and well onward. And don't force yourself to be or do anything you're not.
Amazing. Trying to fit in was our theme as we were growing up. Well, let's say your theme, because we didn't talk much about it. I guess to take away from that is you don't have to fit in. You can be who you are. You can still do the things. And if you are weird or quirky or whatever you want to call yourself, you can be that. Don't try and do it any other way, because doing your own thing when you're an adult is going to pay off. Whatever the path that you choose, you're going to be okay. It's just a little bit of an encouragement. If you want to do that, do it and it will be fine, right?
Exactly. The world's always so much bigger than the small context you live in. Don't let anyone make you feel like they're the gatekeepers. There's more communities out there that will accept you with exactly all that you really are.
Exactly. School isn't the only community.
Thank goodness.
Some people wouldn't have survived. So I am I'm so glad you survived those hardcore years of not being welcomed in your school. And I'm sorry I said that in such a harsh way, but now you know your place, and I'm so glad to know you, and I'm so glad you have started telling your story, and you've decided that you are going to share it with other people, and you're going to use it to empower people. So there's so much more to Audrey's story, everyone. This was like a little like peek from a window into like a family's house or something. It was that small. On a road, you're walking past the house and you like have a little peek. That's how much we've heard today. There's so much more. Audrey, as you can tell, a resilient soul and so mature. I think she was born mature. I think she was just born wise, like, hello, I'm Audrey. I know what to do in this world, in this earth. I'm so glad we had this conversation, and I hope people will enjoy this just as much as I enjoyed finding about your life and just being in your presence. I hope everyone is going to feel the feels that I felt, because it's been good.
Thank you so much, Melin. And I can't wait to interview you next time.
Until next time. So this is our first goodbye, and then it will be our second next time. Wow. I'm so excited. Okay. Love you, girl. And see you all next time.
Next time.
We're so new at that.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.